Welcome back. You're watching the Friday edition of Business Morning, the last one for the week on Channels Television, and we're broadcasting live from Lagos, Nigeria. Right now, we're going to be focusing on latest developments in the power sector, and we know that some things have actually come up and it's been quite worrisome. But to talk more about it, I'm being joined on the program by the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of CSS Technology Limited, Mr. Engineer Arthur Usaigwu. Thank you so much for joining us on the program this morning. Well, we know the situation, we know the issues that actually are ongoing in the sector. Power stations, all of them have been generating about 2,628 megawatts of electricity, and that's dropped from 4,500 that was generated in December last year. Now, in line with the federal government's plan to boost electricity supply, at least for the first half of the year, what are your thoughts on the progress made so far?
Well, the issue has been how to unbond PACN to open up the space for other entrepreneurs to come into the system. That has been going on gradually, even if we're having some hiccups along the line with electricity workers coming up with their demand in terms of severance pay and some other issues that are there. It's been a problem that has been a big challenge to us as a country. Of course, you know that everything in terms of development revolves around power. Now, it's been a big struggle for us to generate even up to 4,000 megawatts. And recently, we're having issues again that these power that we've been clamoring for, we had a drop, not quite long, for about 1,200 or 1,400 megawatts has been dropped from the national grid. Of course, there are so many reasons to all these issues of power dropping from 4,000 to what we have currently. Now, we can't move forward in this country, not until we're able to solve the problem of power in this country. The only way is for us to change the cost and liberalize it, what the government is trying to do now. But the challenges are there, and we are taking one step forward and about 3 steps backward. We can't really move forward the way we are now because it's still a big challenge. Because as you know, we don't even have up to 3,000 megawatts in our national grid for a country as big as Nigeria.
Well, one of the problems that the Ministry of Power has actually pointed out is that the reason why there was this drop was, or like one of the challenges that you were trying to talk about, is a drop in our gas supply. And we know that AFAM and some other, about 3 or 4 of them, which are actually supposed to be supplying the light, are the ones that are having these challenges. Now, what can they be doing at this particular point in time to at least mitigate that problem just before the unbundling process is completed, so that we can actually take off and get to where we want to get to in terms of generating as much electricity that we need in this country?
Yeah, the problem is that it looks as if we are putting all emphasis on gas. Yes, gas is a major one, but even before the advent of gas, we've been having hydropower and some other sources of power generation. If we have to, for example, we have the Olonsogo running on gas, and if you look at where this gas is coming from, it's from the Niger Delta. So it's a long chain of transfer. That, of course, is going to give us a lot of concern, because you hear the government telling us every day about issues of people trying to create problems, blowing up the gas line. We should, as at this time, focus more attention on hydro, even if we know it's a bit cumbersome in terms of the volume and the large area that is required to build this dam. It's an area where we have that natural endowment. We should, as a matter of fact, leverage on that area where we know we can easily generate power. There is also the area of wind. We can do that. Even solar, we can look at so many options so that we don't need to put all our eggs in one basket, just the way we are doing things now. Because if you put all emphasis on gas, you will discover that any little hiccup, the country runs into a big problem, just like what we're having now.
Well, some have actually said that it's better for the government to finance investments in the power sector and get the private sector to manage it, just like they did with the NIPPs, and then of course the telecom sector. Are these your thoughts as well?
Certainly, that is the way it should go, because it is not going to be so easy for government to continuously be in business, because in this part of the world, people believe that whatever government is doing, anything government has its hands, is really nobody's business. We are talking about vandalization and so many other things. If government takes off, moves out of running this business of power generation, distribution, and transmission, and allow individuals, companies to come in and do this, you will discover that this issue of people coming to vandalize government property will not be there. Because look at the telecommunication sector. You see, yes, of course, we know that sometimes we hear of little hiccups from issues of vandalism, but not as much as what we are experiencing with some of these generating stations. So, though government is trying, they are trying to sell off all these things.
But government has tried as much as possible. Like I mentioned, the NIPP projects, which were actually, started in 2004, is still all part of its, planned reform of the power sector. Now, we see that they're trying to unbundle the Power Holding Company of Nigeria into, to at least to 17 private generation and distribution companies to ensure that we attain that heights that we want in terms of power supply to the country. Yeah. So, should they be doing a lot more than what they're doing right now?
Yeah, the process is almost getting to a completion stage, as it is. Just as I said, the little hiccups that is remaining. Government needs to take off involvement completely from it, because that's the only way we can actually move forward. The disco companies, they are going to hand them over now. Just what is left is this issue of sorting out the emolument and all those stuff for PHCN.
Yes, for PHCN workers. But then they're also still having challenges as regards getting financing from banks and from lenders and here in the country. Now, what I'm asking is, because we know that they're having such challenges, what more can the government do to ensure that this process is a seamless one, it's a smooth one for both parties concerned? Because invariably what we're looking at is trying to make things better for Nigerians and not make things worse. Because if these private companies come in, there's a likelihood that whatever services that we're going to be paying is also going to be probably much, much higher than we're supposed to be doing. So what can the federal government be doing to ensure that both parties are in a win-win situation? Yeah,
interestingly, you are aware that so much money is going to flow in from the Chinese angle, and government is trying to ensure that these money that is coming in, part of it is going to be used to cushion the financial effect that could actually snowball from all these investment. Yes, some of these disco companies are talking about fund and but I believe government should actually come up with a guarantee to ensure that instead of doing it on their own, this disco company could be giving these guarantees so that in case cash is required in any of the operation, government can actually come in there as a buffer for this company, because the ultimate aim is for us to have power at the long run.
Well, now let's take a look at the electricity tariff increases, especially on fixed charges. Yeah. What's your take on it?
Well, if you look at that, you see that they have actually categorized all segments of consumers. You have the C1, the D1, the T1, as the case may be. For those high income earners, of course, they are paying more. But for those who are not really on high income, so many things have been made to ensure that they don't really pay as much as the high income earners. For those category of consumers, the meter maintenance fee, which hitherto was paid by everybody, has been cancelled for those people. So electricity actually is not cheap, so we should be prepared, even as it were, to pay higher tariff, because it's not really cheap generating electricity. So if you are running your generator at home, averagely what you spend in the month.
But some people have actually argued that based on the fact that we haven't gotten to where we want to be in terms of electricity supply, why is it that we're having this increase at this point, especially since the residents, that's the fixed charges for residents, has also been increased by almost 2 times, and based on the fact that they don't consume as much electricity, maybe that shouldn't be happening at this particular point in time.
Yeah, what has happened is that government is trying to make it a little bit attractive to investors, because the way it is now, you discover that our electricity is still the cheapest. It's still the cheapest across the world. So if what we are paying is just stipend, there's no way somebody who is coming in to invest in this sector will want to put his money down. So that's why government is looking at possibility of increasing the tariff a little bit so that it can be attractive to the would-be investors. Because if it's not attractive, there's no way these investors can come and put in millions of dollars, and at the end of the day, they are not reaping anything from it. So electricity tariff, what they are trying to do is to make it a little bit attractive for these investors to be able to come in and put in their money and generate.
Is that supposed to be a priority? Is that supposed to be a priority? You're wanting to bring investors in to come and invest in this sector. Is that supposed to be the priority, or the priority of the government at this particular point in time is making everything comfortable for Nigerians, so that we don't keep groaning? Because right now we have a shortfall already of over 2,000, and it's causing a lot of problems for companies, small companies, for residents, and homeowners and the rest of it. So isn't that supposed to be the priority at this particular point in time?
I'll call it an entry point syndrome. It's very easy for us to look at the telecoms as an example. The revolution in the telecom sector, initially we were paying so much per 1 minute call rate. But with time, the effect of competition came in, and you now discover that what we used to pay before has drastically come down. So with the coming in of different owners of these discos and the gencos, you will discover that as long as they keep on generating power and the space is open up, with time, competition will drive these prices down. But for now, because people want to invest and see how they can recoup their investment within the next 2 or 3 or 4 years, there's no way government can do it. Government cannot actually start subsidizing power at this stage because they are opening up the space. Even what we are paying now is also highly subsidized. So we should prepare our minds that it's not going to be cheaper than what we are having now. It's going to be more expensive. But at the long run, the forces of competition is going to drive these prices down. And the tariff will be in such a way that all of us will be happy.
Well, when you were speaking, you talked about alternative sources of power. We know that right now, gas is actually the reason why our power supply is down. In the eventuality that we need to raise it up to a certain appreciable level, and we're still battling with vandalism on all the rest of it, what can be done in the interim to get us to that level where we can be comfortable enough, at least before the unbundling process is complete and before the discos and the gencos come in to make the process an easy one for every Nigerian?
Yeah, it's so easy to do. It's not really rocket science. Now there are generating units that can be sited in different areas in this country and connect all the outputs to the national grid. We don't need to start thinking of a gigantic power generation generating station. We can actually look at a package generating stations that can be taken and installed across all the nook and crannies of this country. And within 3 months, these package generating stations can actually give us what we want, and we'll feed all the output in the national grid. We can have a generating station as small as even 100 megawatts, 200 megawatts. So we can buy
to cater for states?
Yes, even for a local government. 200 megawatts, 300 megawatts, even 50 megawatts package generating station. Install them in different parts of this country and connect all the output to the national grid. That will give us the stopgap. Instead of thinking of a big elephant project that will generate maybe 500, and at the end of the day, it becomes a big problem for us to power them up with gas. I think that is the area the government and most of these GENCO need to look into, so that we can have a stopgap and solve this perennial problem of electricity supply in this country.
Well, thank you so much, Arthur, for joining us on the program this morning.
Thank you, Harriet, for having me.
Well, I've been speaking with the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of CCS Technology Limited, Arthur Usaigwu, and we've been looking at latest developments in the power sector. We are still watching the Friday edition of Business Morning on Channels Television. We'll be back